Rising water in Edgewater. I'm Catherine Silver in the Florida Shores neighborhood where roads are flooded and some homes too.
Flash flood warning still in effect for parts of Brevard County. We're tracking where the heavy rain is and then the tidal flooding over the weekend in a few minutes.
Plus, the White House says budget office says mass firings of federal workers have already started as the government shutdown reaches its 10th day.
Streaming on clickorlando.com and broadcasting live, you're watching News 6 at 4 p.m.
This is a live look now at our camera in Daytona Beach. We are keeping a close eye on the flooding concerns along the coast.
We have team coverage here on News 6 at 4. News 6's Catherine Silver is taking a look at what's going on in Volusia County, and Mark Lehman is checking out the flooded neighborhoods in Brevard County.
Yeah, but first, let's check in with meteorologist Jonathan Kegis because a flash flood warning remains in effect. Jonathan.
Yeah, that's going to be for parts of Brevard County, just to the west side of Palm Bay. Here we go with this box right here. Again, the good news is the rain has shut off, but again, that residual water still going to continue around. The flood warning and the flash flood warning remains in effect for another 15 minutes. That was extended from the initial one that was issued by the National Weather Service. Still watching as well right along the coast here, some really isolated heavy rain. Certainly not as widespread or as intense as what we've seen overnight and into earlier this morning, but still watching, of course, because we've already picked up a ton of rain throughout the course of the afternoon. Look at this, just on the west side of Palm Bay, radar estimates about 6 to 7 inches of rain just in the last few hours that it started raining. Daytona Beach and really just south of there for us in the New Smyrna into Edgewater, anywhere from 4 to 5 inches of rain. Those are radar estimates again, and that continues really through Sharps into Rockledge, about 3 to 5 inches of rain over the last 12 hours. We did in fact set a new record in terms of daily rainfall in Melbourne, picking up so far anyway officially 3.05 inches. That smashes the other record almost by an inch, and it of course is still raining. We're expecting more rain. We'll keep you posted on this and track that flooding even further coming up at about 4:17, guys.
All right, Jonathan, thank you. In Volusia County, we are seeing yards, roads flooded, even some homes.
Yeah, News 6's Catherine Silver joins us now live from Edgewater. What are you seeing out there, Catherine?
Well, families here are on edge. They're worried that their home could flood next because they have seen it before. And to make matters worse, they say that people who are driving through the streets here are only pushing that water closer to their homes. Now, I'm standing at the highest point on Travelers Palm Drive. You can see the road here is covered. During high tide today, some spots were easily a foot underwater. Florida Shores is underwater again.
It's completely flooded. Inches of water in there in my laundry room.
This is the third time Juanita LaGreca's home on Mango Tree Drive has flooded in the last 3 years. She waded through the water to show us the worst of it this time.
Around the whole outside of my house, every wall is sopped. I had to take up all my area rugs. Everything is wet.
You're surrounded. When Hurricane Ian hit, homes here were inundated with water when a record amount of rain clogged up the city's systems.
If you would have drove down the street in 2022, there was mountains of trash of everybody just throwing their possessions out. We can't keep doing this. We need help in Edgewater.
This week, the city says the high tide has significantly reduced the drainage capacity. Police are blocking off roads where the rain Friday only added to the already saturated streets. For many, it's a race against time as the waters rise.
It'll just be a few hours and it'll be up this way if the rain continues.
Eileen Green was watching her cameras at work and rushed home.
Back the cars in, get them up as far as possible. And then we'll tarp and we have our sandbags. This continuous rain, as it will continue, by tomorrow, there'll be many more of us under. They just sit a little bit lower. That's why I was watching the camera this morning, because I was like, oh, here it comes.
The worst waiting game, and it's one families here are familiar with.
We lost everything that we owned, and I thought that would be the only time.
Rebuild, rain, repeat.
Over and over.
Now, days ago, the city did pump some water out of some ponds. They've also had crews out working to make sure that any drains are clear. Families tell me that they see that effort and they appreciate it. But what they really need here is long-term solutions. In Edgewater, I'm Catherine Silver. I'm going to toss it over to News 6's Mark Lehman with a look at conditions in Brevard County.
Here in Brevard County, the recent conditions have led to worries about flooding all along the Space Coast. In this community, for instance, the wind and tide has pushed water into the street. It's a foot deep in some spots. Other communities, meanwhile, are having problems because of the amount of rain that's fallen in the last 24 hours. It was a downpour this morning in Cape Canaveral Mobile Estates. The heavy rain coming hours after much of the low-lying neighborhood took on water last night.
Both roads were totally flooded. Going back into the homes over on this side, the water was just pouring in from all directions.
Bill Skinner is the property manager and says they were only able to push the water out after repairing a pump overnight. I mean, that's your lifeline here, right?
Yeah. Without that, last night there would have been a lot more damage with houses.
I mean, if it comes up much more, then, there's going to be more problems.
Over near Titusville, the Oak Point retirement community has also been dealing with flooding. A combination of winds and tides caused the Indian River to overflow and spill into the neighborhood.
What we've had for the last several days is, as bad as it's been without there being a hurricane coming.
All of this is happening as Brevard County is under a coastal flood warning, and as conditions are expected to persist for the next couple days, those back in Cape Canaveral are waiting on the city for a long-term solution.
They put in for the funds for a pump for the canal, and they're supposed to hear back this month, so we're praying.
In Brevard County, Mark Lehman, News 6.
Breaking news, an arrest in an attempted sexual assault on the Little Econ Greenway Trail in Orange County. This is an incident that happened back in July. Deputies say a man attacked a woman from behind. You may remember this surveillance video. It happened while she was running near Yates Road. The surveillance video showed a person of interest moments before that attack. He has now been identified as Jacoby Tillman, and he's been charged with attempted sexual battery, strangulation, and false imprisonment charges. More breaking news. An explosion at a military munitions plant in Tennessee has left 19 people missing and possibly dead. Authorities say the blast happened at Accurate Energetic Systems in rural McEwen. That's about 60 miles southwest of Nashville. The company's website says it makes and tests explosives at an 8-building facility sprawled across wooded hills. Investigators do not know yet what caused this explosion. We'll update you on air and online as soon as we learn more. In Orange County, a school dispute turned deadly after deputies say a student shot a classmate. We first brought you this story as breaking news yesterday at 5. It happened at Vogt Maloon Park just off Oak Ridge Road and caused Oak Ridge High School to be placed on lockdown. According to Sheriff John Mina, 15-year-old Ja'Cory Redding and 16-year-old Pinion Dalmasy agreed to meet at the park to fight after school. When deputies arrived, they found Dalmasy, who had been shot twice. Redding now faces charges of manslaughter with a firearm and possession of a firearm on school property.
The man deputies say prompted a lockdown at a Brevard County school will remain behind bars. Marvin Guth faced a judge this afternoon. The Brevard County Sheriff's Office says Guth lives down the street from Space Coast Junior Senior High School. Deputies say yesterday he parked his car on school property and then left. Back in March, he made threats to burn down Enterprise Elementary School, which is next door. Guth went to jail for a month in that case. He missed a hearing yesterday for an open case in which he's accused of threatening to kill deputies. Guth is now being held on no bond.
Taking a live look at the U.S. Capitol in Washington, it's now been 10 days since the federal government shut down. Congress remains deadlocked over a funding plan ahead of a busy holiday travel weekend. The stalemate means active duty troops will likely miss a scheduled payday, along with hundreds of thousands of furloughed federal workers who remain in limbo. CBS's Jared Hill reports from New York.
Shame on the Democrats for doing this to the American people.
As congressional lawmakers continue to trade blame over the government shutdown,
Republicans have the House, the Senate, and the presidency. They decided to shut the government down.
President Trump's budget chief posted an ominous message about layoffs Friday, writing, "Reductions in the federal workforce have now begun."
The Democrats have caused this problem.
Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson faced tough questions yesterday from C-SPAN viewers, including a military family expecting to miss a paycheck come October 15th.
You could be the one that could say military's getting paid.
If we did a vote on the floor to pay troops, it's not a lawmaking exercise because Chuck Schumer is going to hold that up in the Senate.
SNAP and WIC recipients nationwide are set to feel the pinch within weeks due to a pause in nutrition benefits.
It could have very significant impacts on those families and the health of their children.
The impasse has already put a strain on the TSA and federal air traffic control system, with an increase in sick-outs. Grateful travelers thank some who are working.
Blessings to all the TSA workers. We told them that, to hang in there and hopefully in time things will change.
Federal aviation officials say most flights are still leaving on time this holiday weekend, adding that the vast majority of air traffic controllers are still on the job. Jared Hill, CBS News.
A Florida man had to answer to police because of the postcard he sent to the state CFO.
Yeah, it said the state CFO lacked values. Coming up, hear what the CFO is telling News 6 about this incident. Plus, we're taking a look at the big fall events happening this weekend and what's going on where you live.
News 6 Insider is sponsored by Orange County Library System.
Law enforcement at the door, all for sending a postcard.
Yeah, a Florida man found 2 officers at his front door after he sent a postcard to the state's new CFO telling him he lacked values. Your Orlando community correspondent Mike Valenti joins us now live from the newsroom. And Mike, you spoke to CFO Blaise Ingoglia today about this incident.
Yeah, Ginger, we did. We caught up with the CFO at an event here in Central Florida. His staff had asked us not to ask him about that police visit to the man's home in Largo, Florida. But this story has only gained traction, especially now that that man at the center of this story is talking for the first time, saying the visit amounted to intimidation, while the state calls it a, quote, threat assessment. Well, we were told not to broach this topic, but a lot of people are talking about the visit to Largo by police officers, the individual who, according to his wife, wrote that you, sir, lack values. Did you know anything about that visit? Do you care to comment on this at all?
Yeah, look, we sent out a statement. I had no idea. I did not see the postcard. I had no idea that they were looking at the postcard and looking at the background. I had no idea that they were visiting. So none of this was, but I do understand that law enforcement, their job is to make sure that we are protecting the elected officials. The rest is in a statement. We can get a statement to you.
Do you think that message constitutes a threat? You lack values?
I didn't see it. I don't know what was on the card. I don't know.
Values.
Yeah, but I'm sure that's not the only thing. I don't know what prompted the investigation. But what I can tell you is I did not order the investigation. I had no idea the investigation was going on.
That was our exchange with recently appointed state CFO Blaise Ingoglia, just hours after Florida Vietnam veteran James O'Gara spoke to WTSP in the wake of law enforcement showing up at his home.
You know, there's some cops at the door, and he said, did you write a postcard? And he said, well, I've written a lot, you know, and he said, well, did you write this postcard? And held up his phone and showed me the postcard. And I said, yeah, I exercised my First Amendment rights.
O'Gara says he's written thousands of messages to federal, local, and state lawmakers, including Florida CFO Blaise Ingoglia. This time telling Ingoglia, quote, you lack values. Largo police confirmed to O'Gara that the law enforcement officers at his door last week were with the Florida Department of Financial Services Criminal Investigation Division. The Department of Financial Services reports directly to CFO Ingoglia.
All I'm doing is exercising my rights. If I threaten, or it can be inferred that I'm threatening any official, it should be investigated.
The communications director for Ingoglia called the incident unfortunate, but did stress that the, quote, decision to conduct the threat assessment was made solely by law enforcement. Back to you.
Mike Valenti reporting live in our newsroom. Thank you.
All right, time now for a look at our forecast. And the weekend is here, but we have to get through some weather before we start to enjoy anything.
We do, and we're still tracking two different types of flooding. And first and foremost, if you're watching anywhere pretty much west of Orlando, you're like, what are you talking about? We broke this down over the last couple of days that we'd be on the much quieter side and drier, sunnier side west of Orlando. We would have all the unfortunate flood potential right along the coast. And we still have some heavier downpours out there. I'm optimistic, though, that the freshwater flood threat's going to start winding down. We do have a flood warning that has taken over now from that expired flash flood warning that's in play. It'll turn on the hazards, and that's going to be right in there on the west side of Palm Bay. This is going to continue for the southwest corner of Brevard County until about 6 o'clock tonight. So watching that again as we still have that steady stream of a few downpours trying to sneak on through tonight. We'll show you the amount of rain that's fallen, and again, we've picked up several inches of rain over the past couple of hours. Just in Brevard County, also in Volusia County. That is where things have been at least the heaviest amount of rain. You clearly see here where we have these bullseyes around Rockledge into Palm Bay. We'll put the dabber back on, and we'll take you closer into that bullseye there. Again, radar estimating anyway, anywhere from 6, possibly even up to 7 inches of rain. Again, that's just the radar estimate. We've officially picked up our record rainfall in Melbourne today with a little more than 3 inches. We'll take you back up into Volusia County where we had a flash flood warning as well. That has since expired as some of the water is trying to back off a little bit, but same kind of deal there with 3 to 4 inches of rain in and around the New Smyrna Beach Edgewater area. Now for the rest of the evening, still a few of these downpours streaming in as this coastal system develops. You see that swirl there. So the storm itself is lifting to the north. Still a few stray downpours to start your morning tomorrow and through the day tomorrow, although we are going to be much, much drier in comparison, still on the drier side to the west. There's 10 o'clock on your Saturday morning. There are those few hit or miss, very light showers pushing through. For the most part, though, we're going to see a little more sunshine tomorrow, and we're going to see that breeze, and that's going to help to usher in the drier air that some of us are already feeling as this coastal system ramps up. Now, the other part of the equation is the coastal flood threat, that tidal flood threat. We've seen one high tide cycle come in and cause some flooding again right along the coast again, and also the St. Johns River at Astor that aggravates that as well. We're back to 78 right now. It's that breeze out of the northeast at about 15 to 20 miles an hour. That makes that issue a little bit worse as well. And again, this warning for tidal flooding brought on by that easterly breeze and the astronomical high tides being higher than normal because of the king tides. That's going to continue through at least Sunday. So watching still the potential, even with all the sunshine breaking free on Sunday, there's likely still going to be flooding again because of the tidal forces and that easterly breeze. And you clearly see there the arrows right out of the east off of the Atlantic. Wind gusts anywhere from 20 to 25 miles an hour. We're going to keep things pretty breezy through the end of the weekend as well. Next high tide cycle for Daytona Beach and really the entire East Coast comes in at about 11 o'clock tonight. So that's the next high tide cycle that I'll be concerned about with some flooding. The higher of the high tides come back in late tomorrow morning and around lunchtime tomorrow. So that's going to be the next two high tide cycles. Both of them higher than where they've been over the past couple of days, with the exception of what we just had today. But nonetheless, watching that closely. Now here's a look at tomorrow.
Your forecast is sponsored by Renewal by Andersen.
There's the evidence of the drier, cooler air. We're talking 70s in the Villages. Ocala, rain chances only at 20%. And then I think the best weather of the country settles in over the next 7 days. Look at this, 60s to start your Sunday. We are back to the low to mid 80s and pretty much nothing but sunshine from Sunday on, guys.
It's looking real nice, and that's good because there is a lot going on this weekend.
Yeah, from art to scenic bicycle rides to family fun and cultural flavor. We'll have your 6 things to do next. A live look now at downtown Orlando from our Light Orlando Delivering Hope camera. You're watching News 6. We'll be right back.
This portion of the news is sponsored by Light Orlando, delivering hope together.
I'm meteorologist Michelle Morgan. Looking for something fun to do this weekend? The 51st annual Mount Dora Bicycle Festival, a great family event that will be happening, and you don't need a fancy bike to ride.
You can take anything that's got two wheels pretty much and brakes and enjoy a 10-mile to a 70-mile course. A lot of people come from even out of state just to come to Mount Dora for the weekend and just reconnect with their friends and family and enjoy a really, really nice recreational day.
The registration fee is $90 and it runs all weekend. The Autumn Art Festival kicks off this weekend in Winter Park at Central Park, running from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's a free event where you can enjoy beautiful works of art, live music, family-friendly fun, and a special featured artist, Holly Austin, Matt's mom, and she'll have her artwork on display. The Orlando Latino Fest is Saturday from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Luminary Green Park. Live Latin music and dance, authentic food, and vendors. It's free and a few isolated showers are possible. The Zoo Boo Bash kicks off this weekend at Central Florida Zoo from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Wear your Halloween costumes, trick-or-treat through the not-so-scary zoo, and enjoy games and candy. It runs every weekend through October. The not-so-spooky Hollow Fest takes place at the center of Deltona on Saturday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. This free event features local vendors, fall-themed crafts, face painting, and plenty of Halloween fun. Costumes are encouraged. The 16th annual Dia de los Muertos Monster Party runs outside of City Arts Orlando. Celebrate the Mexican holiday with a Dia de los Muertos themed art exhibition, spooky art vendors, unique shops, delicious food, and live entertainment. It starts at 6 p.m. Those are your 6 things to do, and if you have a fun event happening in your town this weekend, send it my way. I've been getting so many fun events from viewers like you. Head over to clickorlando.com or our new 6 app, just click contact us.
And you couldn't ask for better weather.
It's going to be perfect,
yes,
right?
I know you plan to go see Matt's mom.
Miss Holly.
Yes.
I'll see her. Yeah, and her artwork. Great
Should be
stuff.
nice.
Yeah.
Well, a man called News 6 to get results for him again because people keep dumping trash on his property.
Why he says it's getting out of control. That's next.
And a man who spent time behind bars for a 6-year-old's death was released but is now back in jail in Central Florida. We'll explain the case that's gained national attention. Welcome back. We are following several top stories right now.
An Orlando County High School sophomore is accused of shooting and killing a classmate, Orange County, I should say. It happened yesterday afternoon near Vote Maloon Park near Oak Ridge High School. This afternoon, the sheriff shared the identities of the suspect and the victim. He says 15-year-old Corey Redding shot and killed 16-year-old Panian Dalwasi. Redding faces charges of manslaughter with a firearm and possession of a firearm on school property. Communities in Edgewater are underwater again. One neighbor in the Florida Shores neighborhood tells us that this is the third time her home has flooded in the last 3 years. Recently, the city pumped down ponds to increase capacity, and they've been clearing drains to make sure they aren't obstructed. Families here tell us they have seen that effort, but they really need long-term solutions.
People living along the Space Coast are also dealing with flooding. The Indian River is overflowing and spilling into neighborhoods like the Oak Point Retirement Community. And as we take a live look at our Launch Credit Union Port Cam at Port Canaveral, a coastal flood warning remains in effect.
So let's check in now with meteorologist Jonathan Kegas with the latest. Jonathan.
Yeah, we're getting the flooding from two different mechanisms. Of course, we had the heavy rain as expected in parts overnight, and then, of course, this morning. But then we also have the tidal impact because of the developing coastal system and those king tides we keep on talking about, the highest astronomical tides of the year. The combination, again, pushing the Atlantic further in. We're going to be dealing with that really through the weekend. Again, just take in mind what the flood, what you saw today, how far that water came up when the high tide came in around 10, 11 o'clock this morning. That's going to be the magnitude of flooding that we're likely going to see. That's about a half a foot to a foot higher than what we've been dealing with earlier in the week when we were under those coastal flood advisories. And again, significant beach erosion is also going to be a byproduct of this. So that's the coastal flood, again, brought on by the higher astronomical tides and the developing coastal system increasing that wind off of the Atlantic. But we also have had flooding across parts of Volusia and Brevard County today because of the relentless rain as a result of that coastal storm developing there. Nearly 6 to 7 inches of rain just west of us, at least on the west side of Palm Bay, about 5 inches closer to Rockledge over the last 12 hours, and then getting closer to Edgewater into Oak Hill, about 4 to 5 inches of rain. Radar estimating that. We'll talk much more about the rain that's out there on the radar right now and what that means for the rest of your weekend as we bring in our first big cold front of the season. That's coming up at about 4:47, guys.
All right, Jonathan, thank you. So open your camera app, scan the QR code on your screen right now, and click the link. We want to see your weather pictures and videos from this glorious weekend. They could end up on TV. You can also go to clickorlando.com/pins and upload your pictures and videos that way.
We are now seeing the moments Marion County deputies arrested a Kentucky man accused of killing a 6-year-old. He went to prison for just a few years before being released and moving to Central Florida. Now he is back in jail on no bond. News 6's Stephanie Rodriguez is in Marion County, explaining why this case is drawing national attention.
Marion County deputies arrested Ronald Exantis on Wednesday at the home he had moved into after being released from prison in Kentucky. The 42-year-old served less than half of his 20-year sentence for attacking a little boy and his family in 2015, killing the boy and injuring his father and 2 sisters. While he was convicted of assault, Exantis was found not guilty by reason of insanity for the murder. This case caught the eye of the Trump administration, with the White House press secretary posting on social media that it's, quote, wholly unacceptable that Exantis was able to walk free after just several years in prison.
I can speak for we, the people here in Florida, do not want this type of person out on our streets, around our children.
Lieutenant Paul Bloom explained that Exantis checked in with Marion County Corrections on Monday, but didn't register as a felon.
He was told by the Department of Corrections, they're given a form. It's printed out in whatever language you speak, and he is given that and was told you have 48 hours to register at the Marion County Sheriff's Office.
Lieutenant Bloom says that most disturbing of all, Exantis was living at a home near a school.
When I say immediately next to it, there is a fence between his house and the elementary school, and that was it. So for us, it was a priority.
According to Bloom, Exantis was living with family in the home, and while deputies had no reason to believe he was planning anything, he broke the law by failing to register, and now they want to see him extradited to Kentucky.
Our hope is that this person is back behind bars, stays behind bars, and that in the end, common sense rules out, the will of the people rules out, and he does not get to see the light of day, not in this state, and even in Kentucky.
Failing to register as a felon here in Florida is a misdemeanor offense, but Lieutenant Bloom said it's also likely a parole violation, which could send Exantis back to prison. In Marion County, Stephanie Rodriguez, News 6.
Meantime, our CBS affiliate in Kentucky caught up with the boys' parents and asked them about the arrest.
This man just spent almost 10 years in prison. You would think that he would do everything he needed to do to stay out.
Kentucky's governor says he is willing to work with the state legislature to change the law that required the man to get released from prison. The family says they remain hopeful one day their son Logan will get the justice he deserves.
Well, just when a Pine Hills man thought it was safe to go outside, trash is now being dumped across the street from his house. We first told you how we got results for him back in April. He called us about the illegal dumping at the corner of Carey Street and Concord Avenue. Well, now your Pine Hills community correspondent Jarrell Baker goes back to help the homeowner a second time.
It seemed like David Slyman's nightmare was over when Orange County crews installed surveillance cameras and cleaned up dozens of pieces of trash illegally dumped on his property off of Concord Avenue in Pine Hills earlier this year. But the owner of this property now tells me that people are coming across the street to his second property and continuing to illegally dump.
Every week they come in and they dump. Now it's getting out of control.
And as doors, car parts, and more pile up across the street, people are still finding ways to dump on the original property, which the community alerted the News 6 results desk about.
We installed the fence. They're still knocking through the fence and, going into and dumping.
Slyman claims that people are pushing further into his property to leave their junk to avoid dealing with the county.
It's whatever on the right-of-way, whatever it's on the street side. It's on the property, they consider that is a private property and they don't get into the property.
He says it's costing him thousands to clean up, which he says is unfair.
But I had to hire a bobcat to come in and they charged me $500 per hour.
Orange County Public Works tells me they constantly send crews to clean the property throughout the week and make good on their promise to set up cameras and signage. This is what the county commissioner told us last time.
The long term is looking for signage, cameras, lighting to discourage folks from dumping illegally.
But Slyman says it's just not enough.
What more does the county need to do just to help you out with this situation?
I mean, I literally don't know, but I will know that they need to make sure that they monitor it more and they take it seriously and go through the footage and see who is dumping. And go after them.
In Pine Hills, Jarrell Baker, News 6.
Now, we reached out to the Orange County Sheriff's Office. We asked how often they monitor the area and whether anybody has been caught dumping since the cameras were set up. They said they plan to follow up with us sometime next week. How can News 6 get results for you? Go to the News 6 app or clickorlando.com and click Contact Us and let us know how we can help.
A heads up, a launch is scheduled for this weekend along the Space Coast. SpaceX will be sending more Amazon satellites into orbit. Just like Starlink, they are designed to provide internet service around the world. Liftoff is set for tomorrow night at 8:51. Well, it is a Halloween tradition with a Florida twist. Gatorland is bringing back gators, ghosts, and goblins, and this year it is bigger, scarier, and even slimier than before. News 6 producer Haley Coombs takes us inside the Halloween haunt that's purely only in Florida.
Right done right is really, we're a family park. We've been open since 1949, 76 years. It's all about family. It's all about fun, smiles, and special memories. And our 7th annual Gators, Ghosts, and Goblins is going to put that to the next level. We have our Swamp Ghost Movie Museum, which is like our haunted museum walkthrough. A little spooky, a little fun. There's even a spot, if you get too scared, you can leave if you need to. One of my favorite that looked really awesome is our bug out area. We have Rhonda and Betty, our exterminators, who are trying to get rid of all the bugs, trying to overtake Gatorland. And of course, you can't go wrong with Skunk Ape and his cryptid friends versus aliens. I mean, it's a battle of the ages.
I challenge you to a duel.
It can't be Halloween without some spooky gators. And a lot of animals will eat pumpkins out in the wild. If they want to eat it, they'll eat it. A lot of them do. And if you get one that really crunches it, you hear how powerful those gator jaws are.
Oh, that's a good crunch right there.
Our director Joe just said they had him at Skunk Ape. He's going.
Well, Gators, Ghosts, and Goblins is at Gatorland starting tomorrow. You'll be able to see Joe out there, I guess. You can get the latest theme park news sent right to your email. Digital journalist Haley Coombs compiles the biggest stories on our attractions into one newsletter for you. You can sign up for the In the Loop Theme Park Scoops newsletter at clickorlando.com/newsletters.
It's like a good time.
The Black Swan and the White Swan will soon be dancing on a Central Florida stage.
Now, why Orlando Ballet is kicking off its season with one of the most legendary ballets in dance history. That's next.
Heaviest rain is kind of pushing back out. We still have a few downpours, though, mainly to the east of I-4 tonight. Still some flooding ongoing from the heavy rain. And then certainly by the next high tide cycle, we're going to pinpoint when that is coming up at about 4:47.
And before we head to break, we want to remind you to check out our primetime schedule on News 6 Plus. We have a new take on the day's news on News 6 tonight. That's at 9. Go in depth as we track the tropics and answer your weather questions at 9:30. Then watch the late news an hour earlier. It's all tonight on News 6 Plus. Download our streaming app for free. Search WKMG in your smart TV's app store. It's also available on Roku, Apple TV, and Fire TV.
The Orlando Ballet is kicking off its newest season with Swan Lake. I'm News 6 producer Brooke Savage. I have Jordan Morris here. He is the artistic director with the Orlando Ballet, and he's here to tell us all about it. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So first off, what can people expect from Swan Lake, and why did you guys choose this as your first show?
Part of the reason I chose it for the first show, I like to open the season with live music. So we're using the Orlando Philharmonic Orchestra, bringing in guest conductor Gabriel Gordon, who I've worked with before on some of my other productions. So we've got live music, we've got live dance. There are 28 students from our school that are also in the production. It's a cast of over 80. It is one of the biggest, most famous, iconic ballet productions, as you know, in the repertoire. So I thought that that would just be the most exciting and brilliant way to open this season.
Wow. So like you just mentioned, there's a lot of moving parts. What does it take to put on a show like this? What is happening in the background? Like, when did you guys start putting this together?
We actually started rehearsing and putting together parts of this back in August. So we've actually been working on it for about 3 months. And right now it is just Swan Lake all day long, 7 days a week, basically. And what I tell people is it's really, when you come to the Dr. Phillips Center, the audience sees one show, the show that's happening on stage, but there's a second show that's happening in the pit with the orchestra. There's a third show, which is all the props and the things and the sets moving on the sides. And then there's a fourth show with all of our wig and costume changes and hair and makeup and all that. So it really is like 4 shows at one time.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Yeah. So again, Swan Lake will be at the Dr. Phillips Center October 16th through the 19th. Of course, I posted all those details on clickorlando.com/settingthestage. In the podcast studio, Brooke Savage, News 6.
And for the latest theater, arts, and entertainment news, check out the Setting the Stage newsletter. Just go to clickorlando.com/newsletter to subscribe.
All right, time now to check in with meteorologist Jonathan Kagas to see what's going on out there. And you know, we love when we get videos and pictures from our viewers because it really tells a complete picture.
It does, and this one really kind of sets the stage here, what was going on in Palm Bay. We picked up anywhere from 6 to 7 inches of rain, and this is what it did here. Thanks, Brian, for submitting this to clickorlando.com/pins. If you have a photo or a video that you can send us when you can do so safely, you can also download the free News 6 weather app, and there's also an area you can submit it to pin it right there. So thank you again in Palm Bay from Brian T here. You clearly see all of the water, and again, the geotag there shows just on the west side of Palm Bay where we did pick up about 6 to 7 inches of rain. And you don't really want to drive through that. Some of these cars can stall out. It's not really flowing too much, but still, we never know if the road is compromised or anything like that. So always be very, very careful and don't drive through the flooded roadways. Here we go, 4 or 5 o'clock on your Friday evening where we stand right now. The rain is much, much lighter as expected. We still have a flood warning out for parts of Brevard County where that video just came in from because we still have the water elevated because of the earlier rain. That will slowly come back down again as we shut things off a little bit again as we move forward off to the Atlantic coast. That is the developing coastal system that is eventually going to move up towards the Carolinas and then send that drier air down. To keep up with the forecast or submit those photos to us, download the free News 6 weather app or video, as you just saw. There's 5 to 6 o'clock again this evening. Future radar, I think, a little intense with the amount of rain that's continuing to come in, but I think it has the timeline and the location correct. There's 9 o'clock tonight. Still a few stray downpours in the mix. Nothing like what we saw last night. I don't think anything like we saw through the morning and into the early afternoon either. There's 4 o'clock on your Saturday morning. Not completely out of the woods just yet from these stray showers in the mix. We will be drier, especially for us along I-75. Again, we're going to be on the drier side, just like where we've been over the past couple of days. And then one kind of last push there Saturday evening with a few stray downpours. And then forget about it. Sunshine dominant for the next several days. Now here's a look at tomorrow.
Your forecast is sponsored by Ramjack.
You can feel it out there, at least for some of us already, that the change is coming. It feels a little drier. That north breeze is pumping in some of the dry air. Look at this, mid to upper 70s tomorrow in Ocala. We're at 80 in Kissimmee, 82 for us in Titusville. Rain chances at 20%. That's a live look outside Port Canaveral, Brevard County with our Launch Credit Union camera. There are still showers around, certainly much, much lighter. The other component, though, is the sunshine the flooding that will happen still even with the sunshine that's out. And that's because of the tidal impacts and that strong east easterly breeze. Monitoring the flooding going on at the Trident Pier, Port Canaveral, this is where we have the gauge. At the last high tide earlier today, about 10, 11 o'clock, came up to nearly 6 feet. Now, to put that into perspective, the next high tide that we are expecting is coming in at about 11 o'clock tonight. Now, we have to add about 1 to 2 feet on these because this is just the straight up astronomical tide forecast. So it's expected to come in a little bit lower, this next one, than where it came this morning, but then another higher one early tomorrow morning before lunchtime at the 11:48 high tide. So just to give you some perspective, if you're living along the coastline over the next couple of days, we're going to be in that ballpark again. Just something to keep in mind that, again, this kind of flooding is not from the rain, it's from the tides and it's from that easterly breeze if you live right along the coast or along the St. Johns River, especially at Astor. We're at 83 degrees on Sunday. We start off in the 60s for likely the first time since May 16th. 86 on Monday, and look at this 7-day forecast, guys. We need it. We've earned it. Lots of sunshine coming our way.
Let's keep looking at it. All right, Jonathan, thank you. Billie Eilish is set to perform in Central Florida in just a few days.
But a lot of people are talking about what happened at her South Florida concert. Next, new details about what exactly happened when she was dragged into a crowd of people.
A local hotel evacuated as the SWAT team moves in.
You need to come out now. Immediately, let's go.
Coming up on Monday, the exclusive video News 6 has obtained showing the deadly confrontation with a suspect.
Orlando Police!
Plus, we're drying out for our work week. Candace will have updates on your forecast every 10 minutes.
We'll see you Monday for News 6 Mornings, starting at 6.
Crackles here.
There, crackles. Yeah.
Can you give her a different mic?
All right, this is scary. Video shows the moment a fan grabbed singer Billie Eilish while she was leaving the stage at her concert.
She just disappeared into the crowd. That is frightening. This happened last night in Miami. The video shows Eilish walking by fans lined up at the barricade. Then someone just grabbed her arm, caused her to spin around and slam against the barricade divider. Security immediately intervened. The 9-time Grammy Award winner is set to perform at the Kia Center in downtown Orlando this Tuesday. And keep in mind, she's tiny. She's like 5'2".
Yeah. And look at all those people. They were all like just grabbing at her.
A new security detail. Well, a series featuring women in STEM who are breaking barriers in their fields is back on News 6.
Mission Unstoppable showcases inspiring trailblazers whose work spans across diverse fields, including zoology, engineering, space exploration, and oceanography. The series' executive producers are actor Miranda Cosgrove, CEO of Lida Hill, philanthropist Nicole Small, and Academy Award winner Gina Davis.
I'm so proud to be a part of this show, to get to host it, because I see firsthand little girls come up to me and they tell me that they watched the show, and there's so many different careers that fall underneath the STEM umbrella, and I think when you watch the show you realize that, and it's just inspiring and it's exciting, and it makes me feel really good knowing that anybody could be out there watching the show and then end up choosing one of these careers, and it could change their future.
We're hearing kids who grew up with the show now telling us that they pursued a career in science when they went to college because they saw something on the show, right? Like it's see it, be it. If you can see an amazing, interesting, fun career, then it makes you want to do that.
And you can watch Mission Unstoppable right here on News 6. It airs Saturdays at 10 a.m.
I have to say, I do watch it. I'm glad that it's still there, and I wish they would bring back the postal inspectors, but that's another story. News 6 at 5 is next.
Anchor Matt Austin is in the newsroom with what's ahead.
Don't get Ginger started on that show, trust me. Well, the squatters are out and the trash is gone. Neighbors who once felt helpless are now seeing homes torn down in a Melbourne community. Ahead at 5, how persistence paid off and what comes next for this neighborhood. Plus, a flash flood warning in Central Florida. We have team coverage along our coast as neighbors brace for impacts. Plus, meteorologist Jonathan Kegas has a check of your forecast, which is, by the way, only minutes away. Don't forget, you can stream all of our newscasts and live cameras on News 6 Plus. Of you on TV.
Minute 30.
Shut up, Steve.
Hello, Matt.
Hi, Lisa.
How are you? Good.
How are you doing today?
Great.
1 minute.
Now at 5.
Earlier this year, I talked about this house full of trash and squatters, according to neighbors. Well, after a lot of complaints, the sheriff's office says they're going to demolish this home. They've already done so to a home just across the street that had similar problems. I'll bring you some very happy reactions now from neighbors coming up.
Plus, the state's auctioning off unclaimed items from coins to collectibles. We take a closer look at the hidden gems up for grabs. Plus,
rising water in Edgewater. I'm Catherine Silver in the Florida Shores neighborhood where roads are flooded and some homes too.
You're watching News 6 at 5. Thanks for joining us on this Friday. I'm Matt Austin.
And I'm Lisa Bell. It has been a day full of flood warnings throughout Central Florida, including neighborhoods in Brevard County that are dealing with problems after heavy rain and higher than normal tides.
We have team coverage tonight, starting with meteorologist Jonathan Kegas, who's been keeping track of these warnings. Jonathan.
Yeah, we've been talking for the past couple of days that the flooding threat would be twofold. One, by the fresh water from the heavy rainfall that we saw overnight and this morning, and the other from the tidal forces due to king tide in this developing coastal system. You see it kind of ramping up off of our shores right now. We also talked about that most of us west of Orlando would be on the drier side. Right now, we are still watching some light rain in Brevard County, but the heaviest stuff shutting off, and I'm optimistic that we are going to see improvements on that front, where we're likely not going to see improvements just yet. And through the weekend, even with sunshine coming our way, is going to be the flooding along the coast as a result of the tides coming in. We'll talk about those high tide cycles over the next 20 minutes. There's the heavy rain from today. Estimates west of Palm Bay, on the west side of Palm Bay, anywhere from 6 to 7 inches of rain. Satellite Beach picking up about 3 to 4. Rockledge into Sharps, anywhere from about 4 to 5 inches of rain over the last 12 hours. Most of that fell in a few-hour span earlier this morning and into the afternoon. And then in Volusia County around New Smyrna Beach, Edgewater through Oak Hill, anywhere from 3 to 5 inches of rain being estimated by radar. Again, the flood threat along the coast as a result of the high tide cycle, that's going to continue through the weekend, even with sunshine breaking free as early as tomorrow. We're going to talk much more about that part of the forecast coming up at about 5:17, guys.
Jonathan, thank you. Our team coverage continues with News 6's Catherine Silver, who is in Edgewater, where roads are underwater and some homes have flooded.
Florida Shores is underwater again.
It's completely flooded. Inches of water in there, in my laundry room.
This is the third time Juanita LaGreca's home on Mango Tree Drive has flooded in the last 3 years. She waded through the water to show us the worst of it this time.
Around the whole outside of my house, every wall is sopped. I had to take up all my area rugs. Everything is wet.
You're surrounded. When Hurricane Ian hit, homes here were inundated with water when a record amount of rain clogged up the city's systems.
If you would have drove down the street in 2022, there was mountains of trash of everybody just throwing their possessions out. We can't keep doing this. We need help in Edgewater.
This week, the city says the high tide has significantly reduced the drainage capacity. Police are blocking off roads where the rain Friday only added to the already saturated streets. For many, it's a race against time as the waters rise.
It'll just be a few hours and it'll be up this way if the rain continues.
Eileen Green was watching her cameras at work and rushed home.
Back the cars in, get them up as far as possible. And then we'll tarp and we have our sandbags. This continuous rain, as it will continue, by tomorrow, there'll be many more of us under. They just sit a little bit lower. That's why I was watching the camera this morning, because I was like, oh, here it comes.
The worst waiting game, and it's one families here are familiar with.
We lost everything that we owned, and I thought that would be the only time.
Rebuild, rain, repeat.
Over and over.
The city did pump water out of some ponds days ago, and crews have been working to clear drains to make sure that the water has a place to flow to. Families here tell me what they really need is long-term solutions. In Volusia, I'm Catherine Silver, News 6.
Neighbors in Lake County once again facing familiar flooding threats. News 6's Laverne McGee joins us from Astor.
Some of the folks in this area say they are used to this type of flooding because they live so close to the St. Johns River, but of course it's still tough to deal with. Right now I'm on Bonnet Road and you can see how flooded the street is. The water creeping right up the driveway of this house. This is Peggy's house. She told me that she's been dealing with this for years, and several streets in the area look like this, and it is expected to get worse.
The big impact is expected to start on Saturday.
Even though it's sunny, the water is going up. The St. Johns River has been in moderate flood stage for just over a week. Our meteorologist, Jonathan Kegas, has been helping me monitor this area, and he told me that the king tide and a coastal storm is likely to cause the water to rise even higher. And the direction of the wind makes matters worse. Now, we are keeping a close eye on things out here. We're going to see what happens this weekend. I'm Laverne McGee in Astor, News 6.
Breaking news, a search is underway right now for 19 people who are missing after a powerful blast at a military explosives plant. The explosion southwest of Nashville damaged vehicles and left charred debris at the site. The blast shook homes miles away. The local sheriff says the scene is now secure, but warned residents that they might hear smaller explosions.
We got a very big investigation. This is not going to be something that we're going to be like a car wreck or something like that we're just going to clean up the debris and leave. We're going to probably be here for a few days.
The company's website says the business develops, manufactures, handles, and stores products and explosives for military, aerospace, and commercial demolition usage.
Well, some sad new details about what sparked a shooting that left one teen dead and another behind bars. It happened yesterday afternoon at Vote Maloon Park. It's just off Oak Ridge Road here. Well, the suspect was caught just a few feet away at Oak Ridge High School. Your Orange County community correspondent Tylisa Hampton spoke to somebody who knew the victim.
Heartache being felt by many. The sheriff's office says, according to witnesses, this all started when one student bumped into another, leading into this domino effect after school of a 16-year-old being shot and killed and a 15-year-old now behind bars.
He was an angel in the flesh.
Tamisha Mills-Destine should be able to hug 16-year-old Pignon Dalmasy, a teen she considered a son. Instead, tears filled her eyes.
To hear another child that you didn't give birth to say, "I'll see you later, Ma, I love you," that do something to a person that loves children.
The lives of two sophomores at Oak Ridge High School, Dalmasy, and 15-year-old Jacory Redding changed forever on Thursday. The Orange County Sheriff's Office says Dalmasy's life was taken over a minor disagreement with Redding on campus that led to a deadly shooting after school at the Go Maloon Park basketball court.
Who said that earlier in the day that Jacory had bumped into Pignon on school campus and had asked or told Pignon or told Jacory to apologize. He would not. The two agreed to meet after school off campus to fight.
After the shooting, Redding ran back to the school, placing it under lockdown, but thanks to a school resource officer, he was caught in the cafeteria with a gun in his backpack. Officials with the Orange County Public Schools say they have a random screening process that includes canines and more, but I asked if they are looking into any changes.
I think we're always looking at opportunities to improve, right? And so, we have layered security in place now that obviously we can't disclose.
Near the park, those at a local YMCA are hoping for change. The shooting, what was your reaction to it?
I just was very sad. Guns running rampant.
Tamisha back at the court looking for anything of Dalmasy's.
I don't know where his stuff is at.
Praying more will be done so this never happens again.
We need more than just people enforcing rules. All children are not the same, and sometimes they need that extra support. Extra support! Extra! They need help.
And Redding is facing multiple charges, including manslaughter with a firearm. If you or someone you know has any information, you're urged to come forward. Reporting, I'm News 6's Tylisa Hampton.
They complained, they called 911, they contacted their county commissioners, and now finally some neighbors are ecstatic to see homes they say were overrun by squatters knocked to the ground. Some of them could not have imagined this outcome when we first told you about the problems with people living out of vans and RVs surrounded by a huge pile of trash. Your Melbourne community correspondent James Barbero has the update neighbors have been waiting for.
What you're about to see is what happens to houses here in Brevard County that make the sheriff's high-intensity target list.
That was just a little bit of Sheriff Wayne Ivey's video here on Seneca Drive that millions have watched now, watching the demolition of what the sheriff's office says was a squatter house. I was on this street back in March. I was working across the street talking about this house full of trash, and now the sheriff says this house is next on the demolition list. That has neighbors who we spoke to very excited.
It feels like we're getting our neighborhood back.
One less house with squatters at a time. Like April O'Neill, I met Dewey Shattuck in March, who was just as frustrated.
We're at our end. We don't know what more to do.
Because no matter how many times neighbors say they complained about trash or drugs, nothing changed. In this house, neighbors told me the owner died, so there was no one to give deputies permission to kick the squatters out. So how in just a matter of 6 months did things change?
We just kept on it.
And April says with help from County Commissioner Rob Feltner, the house is now going to a foreclosure auction. Commissioner Feltner told me he'd like to see it cleaned up and bring in some new good neighbors to the street. As April understands the process, the house could also be knocked down, just as Sheriff Ivey mentioned, once the auction happens next week.
That's when the bank is supposed to buy it and take possession of the property. And according to the Sheriff's Department, they have permission to do the same thing to that home as soon as that happens. Ecstatic, honestly. With the house gone, there's nowhere else for people to squat.
In Brevard County, I'm your Melbourne community correspondent, James Sparvero, News 6.
Its typical placement next to a highway is meant to draw the attention of drivers, but some animal activists say a Georgia Buc-ee's is causing trouble for sea turtles.
It's a blaring burden with nesting season underway. Ahead at 5, the story on the fight to turn off the street lights.
From jewelry to collectibles, the state is getting ready to auction off thousands of items. What could be yours and how to bid.
Today's Port Canaveral Cam is sponsored by Launch Credit Union.
Well, it's your money, or at least it was, and now the state of Florida is preparing to auction it off.
Not just coins and jewelry, other collectibles have somehow been forgotten, and they're now in the possession of the state. New at 5, your Orlando community correspondent Mike Valenti got a look at the goods ranging from priceless to price to move.
There are a lot of things laid out in this Holiday Inn hotel conference room. We're talking jewelry, commemorative quarters, even the complete 5th season of Peter Falk's Columbo.
Roughly 7,500 items under the microscope Friday as potential bidders mull their options ahead of Saturday's auction. These items come from bank safe deposit boxes, for which the rent has not been paid for the last 3 years. If the bank cannot get in touch with the renter of the box or family members, they drill into it and transfer the contents inside to the Florida Division of Unclaimed Property. That brings us here, as people flip through the pages of catalogs looking for items and then inspect what piques their interests.
There is a lot of valuable things here, and we're just blessed to be able to create an avenue where it can get returned to them, and if not, then we do these auctions, and if they come back later, we can get the money to them. So it's a really cool program.
The state estimates that 1 in 5 Floridians have unclaimed funds from a forgotten financial account. Saturday's auction will start at 9 a.m. I'm your Orlando community correspondent, Mike Valenti, News 6.
Very interesting. I'm always fascinated to see something like that.
I know, yeah.
See what little treasure you can find.
It is interesting how the state ends up with all of it. All right, let's check in with meteorologist Jonathan Kagas, taking a look at the radar. It appears to be the time, Jonathan, when our weather is about to make a shift.
It is, yeah, and that first big cold front of the season, it's working down the pipeline as we speak. It's one of the reasons why we're seeing this coastal storm develop here, kind of wrapping up right out to sea. It is still pushing in a couple of stray showers. The heavy rain, I believe, is done. We will see every now and then a stray heavy downpour in the mix, but certainly nothing sustained like what we saw late last night and certainly this morning and into the early afternoon. You can track what's out there. We're heading to high school football tonight with the free News 6 weather app. Again, just a few itty-bitty guys out there, and they're thankfully away from the areas that saw the flooding. So I do think this model rendition is overdone. I think it has the placement and the timeline correct, but I do think, again, it's a little too intense with the amount of rainfall that's there. So there's 3 to 4 o'clock on your Saturday morning. I still think as this coastal storm moves away and you see it kind of lifting up there towards the banner, towards the top of your screen, that as it does so, a few more downpours going to come back our way tomorrow. So not completely bone dry. I think most of us will be dry, and you'll certainly feel the reinforcing shot of some drier air. It's already out there if you've been outside over the last couple of hours, at least trying to push in, mainly down I-75 northwest of Orlando right now. There's 11 o'clock on your Saturday night. I think that's when we start to really transition to bring some of that drier air right down the Florida peninsula. And then sunshine is out in full force basically from Sunday into the entire week ahead. There's a live look in Daytona Beach right now. Still some of the gray clouds out there, but the heavy rain that was with us early this morning causing some flash flooding in parts of Volusia County, that is out of here right now. The breeze out of the east-northeast at about 15 miles an hour. Now, because of that breeze and the king tides, again, that's that higher astronomical tide when the sun and the moon kind of lined up to enhance the tidal forces. That is going to continue through the weekend. So even with the increasing sunshine, this type of flood is not brought on by rainfall, but rather the tidal forces. So again, if you're along the coast and then certainly the St. Johns River at Astor, that's where we are a little more susceptible and really a lot more susceptible to the tidal forces. Those, the high tides are going to come in about a half a foot to a foot higher than the tides that we saw come in earlier in the week, more comparable to what we saw today. That was no doubt the highest high tide of the bunch so far, and that is going to continue for the bulk of the weekend. There's the wind speed again, gusting at times to about 15 to 20 miles an hour. That's going to pick up a little bit tomorrow, still out of the east, helping to force in the Atlantic a little bit more. Again, watching the high tide cycles, and the next one is going to come in along the east coast closer to 11 o'clock to midnight tonight. So just be on the lookout for that. Should be a little bit lower than what we saw come in earlier today, and then the bigger one comes in around lunchtime tomorrow. These numbers, by the way, just add about a foot or two. Again, that's on top of the lunar tidal forecast there. So again, it came in today about a foot higher than what the forecast actually is, because that just has the lunar forecast brought on by the astronomical tides. Now here's a look at tomorrow.
Your forecast is sponsored by Payne Law.
Temperatures tomorrow, there's the change. Matt was alluding to it. We're at 76 in Ocala, 79 in Palm Coast, 80 in Orlando. Rain chances not zero. They're at 20%, just doing a little dodging of a few quick hitting downpours. We're going to see the humidity go away. So right now we're hanging into that 70-degree ballpark. It certainly felt a little bit better with that drier wind coming through. But once we get into Saturday night and especially Sunday morning, that's whenever the real change settles in. We're going to wake up to temperatures on a widespread scale in Central Florida in the mid to upper 60s. It's still going to be warm in the afternoon, no doubt. Low to mid 80s for the week ahead, but it is going to be comfortably warm and a lot of sunshine. If you've been putting off some projects because you need a good stretch of dry weather, maybe trying to seal a deck or something, now is your time. Get out there on Sunday and get to work.
All right, Jonathan, thank you. Open your camera app, scan the QR code on your screen right now and click the link. We want to see your weather pictures and videos. They could end up on TV. You can also go to clickorlando.com/pins and upload your pictures and videos that way. Jaws, The Wizard of Oz, Back to the Future, some classic movies are making a big screen comeback.
Your favorite films are drawing crowds back to the theater. How this trend is changing movie night. That's next.
Your weekend evening traffic alert. Well, after today, that weather is going to get pretty nice over the weekend, so that construction is going to ramp up. So please make sure you're paying attention during your evening travels. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night. I-95, you'll see some lane closures on the southern portion down Palm Bay, Melbourne area. Then, of course, southern portions of the Florida Turnpike. I'm talking Kissimmee Park Road, heavy construction. Traveled through there the other night. Pretty heavy stuff. And then I-4 out by the attractions, east and westbound between the Turnpike and State Road 528. I'm Trooper Steve with your News 6 traffic alert. Drive safely. Have a great weekend. I'll catch you Monday morning.
Here's a live look at downtown Orlando from our Light Orlando Delivering Hope camera. You're watching News 6 at 5. We'll be right back.
Move over, Marvel. What's old is new again when it comes to the big screen.
As more Americans are opting to watch movies from the comfort of their own home, theaters are digging into the archives to try to sell some tickets. Gwen Baumgardner reports from Los Angeles.
The lines are unforgettable.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
The characters iconic.
I am
I'm Dorothy.
More and more Hollywood classics are getting a second act.
I'll be back.
The old box office hits are returning to theaters in a new bid to sell more seats.
This is a big shift this year.
J.D. Connor is a cinema professor at USC.
Movie theaters are trying everything. Discount Wednesdays, the loyalty programs, all these things seem to be moving the needle, but the revival screenings where they can guarantee a pretty full house, that seems to be working a lot.
Hollywood's TCL Chinese Theater is showing Apollo 13, marking its 30th anniversary. Jim came for the matinee.
I'm retired now, so I can go whenever I want.
Avatar and Toy Story are back on nearby screens, and not just for the sake of nostalgia.
Houston, we have a problem.
Movie theaters are struggling to find content.
Runtimes have drastically shortened.
AMC CEO Adam Aron says a typical new release used to run in theaters about 74 days. Post-pandemic, that shrunk to about 45. And if the studio sees a flop, they might pull it after just 17 days. That leaves a pretty wide opening for new audiences to see the greats gathering dust on the shelf in their big screen glory.
The experience is just totally different. Yeah. So I wish they would bring more movies back.
Bringing the classics back to the future.
You kids are going to love it.
Gwen Baumgartner, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Still to come, flooding worries are rising along the Space Coast.
Neighborhoods dealing with foot-deep water in the streets after heavy rains and high tides. How neighbors are struggling to keep the water out, and what's next for this community facing ongoing flooding.
William Mahler back.
Plus, a Kentucky man charged in a child's death is back in custody for failing to register as a felon. Details about his arrest here in Central Florida coming up. As we take a live look at Daytona Beach, you're watching News 6. Keep it here. We'll be right back. Glad you're with us. I'm Lisa Bell.
I'm Matt Austin. You're watching News 6 at 5. We're following several top stories for you right now.
Communities in Edgewater are dealing with flooding once again. One neighbor in the Florida Shores neighborhood tells us this is the third time her home has flooded in the last 3 years. Recently, the city pumped water out of ponds to increase capacity, and they've been clearing drains to make sure they are not obstructed. Families here tell us they have seen that before, but what they really want are some long-term solutions.
We're following some breaking news out of Tennessee. A search is underway right now for 19 people who are missing after a powerful blast at a military explosives plant. The explosion southwest of Nashville damaged cars and left charred debris at the site. The blast shook homes miles away. The local sheriff says the scene is now secure, but warned neighbors they might hear smaller explosions. Neighbors are celebrating the demolition of squatters' houses on their street. The Brevard County Sheriff's Office had this house on Seneca Drive leveled, where the sheriff says people were dealing drugs. Neighbors tell News 6 they had similar problems with a house full of trash across the street. The sheriff says that house is next on his plans for demolition.
Flooding is also a problem tonight in Brevard County. Here's new video posted to our Pin It page showing roads in a Palm Bay neighborhood underwater.
Let's get you right over to meteorologist Jonathan Kegas with the latest on the warnings.
Yeah, the good news is we don't have any of the flash flood warnings in play right now. We still have a flood warning to the west of Palm Bay because we still had that residual water of all of the rain that fell today. That will only be into effect for another 30 minutes, but we picked up anywhere from 6 to 7 inches of rain on the west side of Palm Bay, about 3 to 4 inches from Satellite Beach up the I-95 corridor, and then where we had the flooding earlier today in Edgewater and New Smyrna Beach into Oak Hill, that's where we picked up about 3 to 5 inches. You can clearly see, though, that on the west side of Central Florida, hardly anything. That's what we were talking about yesterday, that the high impact part of the weather pattern for today and really over the weekend will focus along the coast. Now, the weekend issue is going to be primarily and really the entire way from coastal flooding, that tidal flooding brought on by the higher than normal tides. That's where we have a coastal flood warning in place. So again, not from the rain. We're going to shut the rain off really as we get into tomorrow, which is a few stray downpours. This is going to be all tidally forced here by the strong easterly breeze and then the astronomical high tides. So we'll be watching for saltwater flooding at the areas of high tides over the next couple of days and likely through the weekend. We'll talk much more about this and talk about the first big cool down, relatively speaking, of course, coming our way at about 5:47, guys.
Jonathan, thank you. People living along the Space Coast are dealing with flooding, although the reason behind it is different. News 6's Mark Lehman continues our coverage from Brevard County, where king tides are causing issues along the coast.
Here in Brevard County, the recent conditions have led to worries about flooding all along the Space Coast. In this community, for instance, the wind and tide has pushed water into the street. It's a foot deep in some spots. Other communities, meanwhile, are having problems because of the amount of rain that's fallen in the last 24 hours. It was a downpour this morning in Cape Canaveral Mobile Estates. The heavy rain coming hours after much of the low-lying neighborhood took on water last night.
Both roads were totally flooded. Going back into the homes over on this side, the water was just pouring in from all directions.
Bill Skinner is the property manager and says they were only able to push the water out after repairing a pump overnight. I mean, that's your lifeline here, right?
Yeah. Without that, last night there would have been a lot more damage with houses.
I mean, if it comes out much more, then, there's going to be more problems.
Over near Titusville, the Oak Point retirement community has also been dealing with flooding. A combination of winds and tides caused the Indian River to overflow and spill into the neighborhood.
What we've had for the last several days is, as bad as it's been without there being a hurricane coming.
All of this is happening as Brevard County is under a coastal flood warning, and as conditions are expected to persist for the next couple days, those back in Cape Canaveral are waiting on the city for a long-term solution.
They put in for the funds for a pump for the canal, and they're supposed to hear back this month, so we're praying.
In Brevard County, Mark Lehman, News 6.
The man involved in the stabbing death of a 6-year-old boy in Kentucky will stay behind bars. Ronald Exantis was picked up by Marion County Sheriff's deputies on Thursday. As News 6's Stephanie Rodriguez reports, Exantis now faces extradition.
Marion County deputies arrested Ronald Exantis on Wednesday at the home he had moved into after being released from prison in Kentucky. The 42-year-old served less than half of his 20-year sentence for attacking a little boy and his family in 2015, killing the boy and injuring his father and 2 sisters. While he was convicted of assault, Exantis was found not guilty by reason of insanity for the murder. This case caught the eye of the Trump administration, with the White House press secretary posting on social media that it's, quote, wholly unacceptable that Exantis was able to walk free after just several years in prison.
I can speak for we, the people here in Florida, do not want this type of person out on our streets, around our children.
Lieutenant Paul Bloom explained that Exantis checked in with Marion County Corrections on Monday, but didn't register as a felon.
He was told by the Department of Corrections, they're given a form. It's printed out in whatever language you speak, and he is given that and was told you have 48 hours to register at the Marion County Sheriff's Office.
Lieutenant Bloom says that most disturbing of all, Exantis was living at a home near a school.
When I say immediately next to it, there is a fence between his house and the elementary school, and that was it. So for us, it was a priority.
According to Bloom, Exantis was living with family in the home, and while deputies had no reason to believe he was planning anything, he broke the law by failing to register, and now they want to see him extradited to Kentucky.
Our hope is that this person is back behind bars, stays behind bars, and that in the end, common sense rules out, the will of the people rules out, and he does not get to see the light of day, not in this state and even in Kentucky.
Failing to register as a felon here in Florida is a misdemeanor offense, but Lieutenant Bloom said it's also likely a parole violation, which could send Exantis back to prison. In Marion County, Stephanie Rodriguez, News 6.
The Marion County Sheriff's Office also says Exantis lived near 2 schools, Sunrise Elementary and Horizon Academy, if you're curious. Marion County Public Schools responded on social media yesterday saying in part, quote, "We continue working with the Marion County Sheriff's Office to protect and keep our schools safe. As concerning as this arrest is, this remains a law enforcement matter."
Israel and Hamas have begun the first phase of a peace deal in Gaza. This comes as President Trump is preparing a trip to the region this weekend. Erica Brown reports from the White House.
Israeli forces began withdrawing its troops from parts of Gaza early Friday, starting a 72-hour clock for Hamas to release all of the remaining Israeli hostages. In Tel Aviv's Hostage Square, prayers of hope and thanksgiving were shared for the peace deal and return of the hostages. Louis Har was captured by Hamas and freed in February of 2024. He says he still has doubts other hostages will be released.
When we see the people here in Israel, I believe, not before.
In Gaza City, Palestinian refugees driven out by the war flooded back. This woman says she's trying to find her home, but doesn't recognize anything because it's all rubble. President Trump is planning to travel to the Middle East to attend the signing of the deal in Egypt. He also plans to be in Israel to address Israel's parliament and be on hand for the release of hostages.
The hostages will be coming back Monday or Tuesday. I'll probably be there. I hope to be there, and we're planning on leaving sometime Sunday, and I look forward to it.
The U.S. military will also help to stabilize Gaza with 200 service members working at a coordination center in Israel to monitor the ceasefire and help the flow of humanitarian aid into Gaza. Erica Brown, CBS News, the White House.
In just hours, SpaceX will attempt to launch another batch of internet satellites for Amazon's Project Kuiper. The launch was previously scheduled for last night, but it had to be rescheduled. The rocket is set to lift off at 8:41 tomorrow night from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. Backup opportunities are available until 11:15 p.m. If the launch doesn't happen on Saturday, there's another opportunity on Sunday.
Well, what better way to kick off the Orlando Ballet season than with a show featuring a bird that symbolizes the City Beautiful? News 6 was at a rehearsal earlier today for Swan Lake. The show will feature 85 dancers, including 28 students from Orlando Ballet School, ranging in age from 7 and above.
It is one of the biggest, most famous, iconic ballet productions, as you know, in the repertoire. So I thought that that would just be the most exciting and brilliant way to open this season.
The show runs inside Steinmetz Hall at the Dr. Phillips Center for the Performing Arts from October 16th through the 19th. For the latest theater, arts, and entertainment news, check out the Setting the Stage newsletter. Just go to clickorlando.com/newsletter to subscribe.
Well, it's a Halloween tradition with a Florida twist.
Alligators are not the only creatures lurking in the Gatorland swamp this October. Monster Movie Museum, haunt zones, and giant bugs. We're taking you to Gators, Ghosts, and Goblins coming up. Jonathan?
It'll feel a little more festive for all of that. We're getting rid of the heavy rain over the next couple of hours and into tomorrow. We'll focus on the flood threat along the coast, though, by saltwater flooding. And then we're going to usher in that much cooler air mass. We're going to break it all down for you coming up at about 5:47.
What seemed like a victory for sea turtle activists is now facing a new setback. Why a decision about bright lights near a Buc-ee's as conservationists worry. Try out the all-new primetime schedule on News 6 Plus. Ginger and I have a new take on the day's news on News 6 tonight at 9. Go in depth as we track the tropics and answer weather questions with meteorologist Jonathan Kegas at 9:30. Then watch the late news an hour early. It's all tonight on News 6 Plus.
And you can download our streaming app for free. Just search WKMG in your smart TV's app store. It's also available on Roku, Apple TV, and Fire TV.
What looked like a win for some animal activists has turned into another hurdle. Recently, the Georgia Department of Transportation gave Glenn County the green light to turn off high-mast lights near a Buc-ee's exit north of Brunswick.
However, a response from the county has activists feeling frustrated. Activists say the lights confuse turtles, drawing them inland away from the water. Khalil Maycock from our sister station in Jacksonville shares the county's mixed response to the GDOT's request.
Oh, I was excited.
That's the initial reaction Catherine Ridley had while reading this letter from GDOT addressed to Glynn County. It says in part, GDOT hereby authorizes and requests Glynn County to de-energize the high-mast lights at exit 42 during sea turtle hatching season. These are the high-mast lights. They're located near Buc-ee's at exit 42. Ridley says she and other sea turtle advocates have been fighting for nearly 2 years to get these lights turned off during hatching season, which is August through October in Georgia. The light they give off can be seen from miles away on Little St. Simon's Island and Sapelo Island and endanger sea turtles, Ridley says, luring them toward the light instead of the sea.
It seemed like a win-win for everyone.
However, that win was short-lived. This email from Glynn County, responding to the first email I showed you, asked Georgia Department of Transportation and DNR to send more evidence these lights are harming sea turtles.
Our sea turtle scientists had been all along sharing the impacts of these high mast lights and having those conversations.
To get clarification on why the county wasn't turning off the lights if the state was authorizing and requesting they do, I sent them an email. I received this reply saying, in the interest of public safety, Glynn County has made the decision to keep the high-mast lights at exit 42 interchange operational. I thought the reply was interesting because if we go back to this email from the Georgia Department of Transportation, another reason they're asking the county to turn off those lights is because it says roundabouts have been constructed at the exit ramp terminals and the associated lighting provides sufficient illumination for safe navigation of the roundabouts. When I followed up, I received a conflicting response from my first email saying the lighting issues at exit 42 is under review by the Board of Commissioners, something Ridley isn't surprised by.
To be honest, it felt like another delay tactic. Really don't understand what the holdup is.
But Ridley says they're going to remain hopeful the county comes to the right decision.
Now, Buc-ee's is expanding all across the country, including here in the Sunshine State. Over on ClickOrlando.com, we have a list of Florida cities where the popular gas station chain is set to open up future locations.
All right, let's check in with meteorologist Jonathan Kagas as our weather starts to see those fall changes, at least for a little bit.
Yeah, I think for the better part of the week ahead, we're going to be in that pattern. It's still going to be warm in the afternoons, but the humidity, that's the big deal, and that's going to be dropping. You can already feel it out there a little bit across parts of Central Florida. We still have a few hit or miss downpours out there. These are few and far between, again, pushing a little further inland now towards the I-4 corridor. If you're heading out to high school football tonight or just going out to dinner, you can track these downpours right to your location by downloading the free News 6 weather app. Couple of few stray showers right along the I-75 corridor. The best news I can give you, though, is we've gotten rid of the very heavy rain from especially Brevard County and Volusia County, where we had those warnings earlier and saw some of the flooding earlier. Now, on the flip side of that, the flood threat remains very high through the weekend right along the coast, brought on by tidal forces, not because of the rainfall out there. There's 6, 7 o'clock because we're going to see lots of sunshine this weekend. A few more downpours coming through. I don't think they're going to be as intense. We've been talking about this, and I think the future radar, the modeling here, a little too hot, so to speak, coming in with the intensity of the rain. I do think it has the right location, though, with a few of these stray showers. As you see, that coastal storm really ramps up and then works its way up the coast. That is going to send down all of the drier air that starts to dry us out tomorrow. There will be a few stray showers in the mix, but then really by Sunday, we are going to see dominant sunshine. That's 6 o'clock on your Saturday evening. Still a few stray showers around. I think they'll be lower in coverage also than what future radar is showing. Now here's a look at tomorrow.
Your forecast is sponsored by Publix.
20% shot for downpours tomorrow. We're at 78 in the Villages, 76 in Ocala. We're in the upper 70s in Palm Coast, into Bunnell, Daytona Beach. We're at 80 in Kissimmee. Mico, good evening. We are at 83 degrees, so the tide starts to turn a little bit tomorrow. There's a live look, Port Canaveral, Brevard County, with our Launch Credit Union camera this evening. We have air temperatures now in the mid-70s. It's still a muggy 76. It'll be a little more refreshing again as we turn the page into Sunday. This is going to be the issue, though, going forward. Thank you so much. And from Marineland, from Susan and Marineland from earlier today, the seaweed that has really rolled up on shore again right along the coast, it's going to be the tide itself that continues to come in. That was submitted on Pin It. You can go to clickorlando.com/pins or on the free News 6 app to submit your photos. But it's the wind direction. Finally, we're going to get it to change a little bit. But until we get that northerly wind and we get the king tides to settle back down, we are still going to be dealing with that saltwater flood threat really through the weekend. So even though we get our sunshine back out, we are still going to be dealing right along the coast with that flood risk again going forward. Very similar to what we saw this morning and for the last couple of days, albeit some of those tides coming in even higher. Here's the change. Orlando, we have dew point of 72. Jacksonville, dew point of 68. Remember, most important number when it comes to your comfort. In the 70s, it's the tropical feel. In the 60s, yeah, it's a little humid, but we can deal with it. That's jackpot coming out of parts of Tennessee into Atlanta right now. All of that drier air going to spill down the Florida Peninsula. With the drier air, will be allowed to fall a little bit further in the temperature department. Morning lows coming our way over the next few days, really starting on Sunday and continuing even more so into Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday in the mid to upper 60s. Now, that's right where we should be for this time of the year, but it's been a long time, 147 days, in fact, that we have woken up to temperatures in the 60s on a widespread scale. We're at 83 degrees on Sunday, the humidity non-existent, just gorgeous for the week ahead. Again, comfortably warm, we're going to call it, over the next 7 days beyond tomorrow, guys.
Jonathan, thank you. If you plan on passing out candy this Halloween, you might run out faster than usual.
Mars Candy is here for backup. We'll explain that coming up. And pumpkin carving or pumpkin chomping. You're guaranteed to see one tradition at Gatorland's Halloween. We're taking you to the Gators, Ghosts, and Goblins. That's next. And ahead at 6. 5 years after their loved one was killed by an Orange County deputy, a family has reached a settlement with the sheriff's office. We're speaking with the family attorney on what this means for their search for closure.
A local hotel evacuated as the SWAT team moves in.
You need to come out now. Immediately, let's go. Coming up on Monday, the exclusive video News 6 has obtained showing the deadly confrontation with a suspect. Orlando, please!
Plus, we're drying out for our work week. Candace will have updates on your forecast every 10 minutes.
We'll see you Monday for News 6 Mornings, starting at 6.
Night done right is really, we're a family park. We've been open since 1949, 76 years. It's all about family. It's all about fun, smiles, and special memories. And our 7th annual Gators, Ghosts and Goblins is going to put that to the next level. We have our Swamp Ghost Movie Museum, which is like our haunted museum walkthrough. A little spooky, a little fun. There's even a spot, if you get too scared, you can leave if you need to. One of my favorite that looked really awesome is our bug out area. We have Rhonda and Betty, our exterminators, who are trying to get rid of all the bugs, trying to overtake Gatorland. And of course, you can't go wrong with Skunk Ape and his cryptid friends versus aliens. I mean, it's a battle of the ages.
I challenge you to a duel.
It can't be Halloween without some spooky gators. And a lot of animals will eat pumpkins out in the wild. If they want to eat it, they'll eat it. A lot of them do. And if you get one that really crunches it, you hear how powerful those gator jaws are.
Oh, that's a good crunch right there.
I love Gatorland. Gators, Ghosts, and Goblins runs Saturdays and Sundays in October. We highlighted the event in this week's In the Loop Theme Park Scoops. Sign up for free at clickorlando.com/newsletters. For the first time in over a decade, Halloween is falling on a Friday this year, which probably means a higher turnout for those trick-or-treaters.
Yeah, you might go through your candy faster than usual. M&M's is back with their Halloween Rescue Squad for the 3rd year in a row, starting at 5 o'clock on October 31st. If you're in a Go Puff delivery area, you can get a free candy bowl refill while supplies last. According to Mars Candy, 95% of Americans who celebrate Halloween typically purchase some type of candy, with chocolate being a top choice. Not here, though, so much in Florida, because it can get a little hot.
We like the sweet tarts
even on Halloween.
Yeah.
Ginger Gadsden is in the newsroom with what we're working on for News 6 at 6.
Yeah, from the Atlantic coast all the way inland, flooding is a big concern across several communities tonight. We're looking at conditions across parts of Central Florida that have historically had issues and tracking the conditions where you live. And people in a Brevard County neighborhood say they're starting to get their community back after a lot of problem properties were torn down, the long road it took to get to this point. A live look now at downtown Orlando from our Light Orlando Delivering Hope camera. You're watching News 6. We'll be right back.
Even after the rain shuts off, more flooding is on the way for parts of Central Florida. I'll have the timeline for your area.
Again, it's unfortunate how this whole thing started.
Plus, one teen's life cut short. Another changed forever after an argument escalated over something that happens every day.
It feels like we're getting our neighborhood back.
And neighbors ecstatic as homes on their street are torn down. The safety risk they say they posed. News 6 at 6 starts now. We are following flooding concerns across Central Florida right now.
Yeah, this is just a glimpse of what some people are dealing with in counties like Volusia, Lake, and Brevard. We have team coverage tracking flood conditions tonight. We'll check in with Laverne McGee and Astor and meteorologist Jonathan Kegas shortly. But first, News 6 reporter Catherine Silver is giving us a look at
Some of the folks in this area say they are used to this type of flooding because they live so close to the St. Johns River, but of course it's still tough to deal with. Right now I'm on Bonnet Road and you can see how flooded the street is. The water creeping right up the driveway of this house. This is Peggy's house. She told me that she's been dealing with this for years, and several streets in the area look like this, and it is expected to get worse. The big impact is expected to start on Saturday. Even though it's sunny, the water is going up. The St. Johns River has been in moderate flood stage for just over a week. Our meteorologist, Jonathan Kegas, has been helping me monitor this area, and he told me that the king tide and a coastal storm is likely to cause the water to rise even higher. And the direction of the wind makes matters worse. Now, we are keeping a close eye on things out here. We're going to see what happens this weekend. I'm Laverne McGee in Astor, News 6.
And we are still watching those water levels, of course, on the St. Johns River, especially at Astor. Downstream, closer to Geneva and parts of Volusia and Seminole County where the river goes, it's expected to remain in action stage, but keeping a close eye on it. In Astor, because of the tidal forces, again, being that strong northeasterly breeze, the river is expected to continue to rise up to 3.5 feet tomorrow afternoon and then cresting late tomorrow evening at about 8 o'clock in the evening at about 3.6 feet. Now, once we get to that 3.5 threshold, it's still in moderate flood stage. However, we start to kind of add impacts a little bit. So that's going to be homes near Wild Hog, Bonnet, and Snail Roads. Those are going to start to become inaccessible, and that's just with a couple of extra inches. So just be on the lookout for that. And I know you guys that live along the St. Johns River and Astor know this, but just wanted to give you guys the heads up again that that's whenever we start to reach our next threshold here. And again, all of this is brought on by the tidal flooding rather than any kind of heavy rainfall that is coming anymore. I think we'll just have a few stray showers around, but that's not going to add any insult to injury. It's all because of the tidal flooding brought on by the king tides and that stiff easterly breeze that we'll continue to deal with through parts of the weekend. Again, in terms of the coast, the tides that you've seen over the past couple of days are expected to be anywhere from a half a foot to a foot higher. And again, that is all saltwater flooding from the Atlantic or the river flooding kind of being pushed back up again by that northeasterly breeze. Now we're going to send things to Catherine Silver and see how things are looking in parts of Edgewater.
Florida Shores is underwater again.
It's completely flooded. Inches of water in there in my laundry room.
This is the third time Juanita LaGreca's home on Mango Tree Drive has flooded in the last 3 years. She waded through the water to show us the worst of it this time.
Around the whole outside of my house, every wall is sopped. I had to take up all my area rugs. Everything is wet.
You're surrounded. When Hurricane Ian hit, homes here were inundated with water when a record amount of rain clogged up the city's systems.
If you would have drove down the street in 2022, there was mountains of trash of everybody just throwing their possessions out. We can't keep doing this. We need help in Edgewater.
This week, the city says the high tide has significantly reduced the drainage capacity. Police are blocking off roads where the rain Friday only added to the already saturated streets. For many, it's a race against time as the waters rise.
It'll just be a few hours and it'll be up this way if the rain continues.
Eileen Green was watching her cameras at work and rushed home.
Back the cars in, get them up as far as possible. And then we'll tarp and we have our sandbags. This continuous rain, as it will continue, by tomorrow, there'll be many more of us under. They just sit a little bit lower. That's why I was watching the camera this morning, because I was like, oh, here it comes.
The worst waiting game, and it's one families here are familiar with.
We lost everything that we owned, and I thought that would be the only time.
Rebuild, rain, repeat.
Over and over.
The city did pump water out of some ponds days ago, and crews have been working to clear drains to make sure that the water has a place to flow to. Families here tell me what they really need is long-term solutions. In Volusia, I'm Catherine Silver, News 6.
Now take a look at these conditions in Brevard County. You're about to see heavy rains mixed with winds and tide, causing water to crash into this neighborhood. The Jetty Park Fishing Pier and Rodney Ketchum Park Boat Ramp Walkway closed around noon today due to the weather and will likely remain closed for a few days as conditions start to improve. And we want to see your weather pictures and videos. You could send us the conditions in your neighborhood by scanning the QR code on your screen or by going to clickorlando.com/pins and upload your pictures and videos that way. And don't forget, you can get all of the latest weather alerts directly on your phone by downloading our free Pinpoint Weather app. Search WKMG in your app store.
The Orange County Sheriff's Office says an arrest has been made in connection to an attempted rape from July on the Little Econ Greenway Trail. Deputies say Jacoby Vontrell Tillman is facing charges for attempted battery by strangulation, and false imprisonment. Authorities say this stems from July 25th when a woman was attacked from behind while running on the trail. Tillman is now in the Orange County Jail. Deputies are urging everybody to be on alert when running or walking and call 911 if you see anything suspicious.
Well, we are continuing our coverage of a story we brought to you as breaking news this time yesterday. News 6 has learned a 16-year-old was shot and killed at a basketball court. Orange County Sheriff's deputies were called to Vote Maloon Park near Oak Ridge High School, where they found the teen had been shot twice. As your Orange County community correspondent Tylisa Hampson explains, this all started when the two teens ran into each other earlier in the day.
Heartache being felt by many. The sheriff's office says, according to witnesses, this all started when one student bumped into another, leading into this domino effect after school of a 16-year-old being shot and killed and a 15-year-old now behind bars.
He was an angel in the flesh.
Tamisha Mills-Destine should be able to hug 16-year-old Pignon Dalmasy, a teen she considered a son. Instead, tears fill her eyes.
To hear another child that you didn't give birth to say, "I see you later, Ma, I love you," that do something to a person that loves children.
The lives of two sophomores at Oak Ridge High School, Dalmasy, and 15-year-old Jacory Redding changed forever on Thursday. The Orange County Sheriff's Office says Dalmasy's life was taken over a minor disagreement with Redding on campus that led to a deadly shooting after school at Vago Maloon Park basketball court.
Who said that earlier in the day that Jacory had bumped into Pignon on school campus and had asked or told Pignon or told Jacory to apologize. He would not. The two agreed to meet after school off campus to fight.
After the shooting, Redding ran back to the school, placing it under lockdown, but thanks to a school resource officer, he was caught in the cafeteria with a gun in his backpack. Officials with the Orange County Public Schools say they have a random screening process that includes canines and more, but I asked if they are looking into any changes.
I think we're always looking at opportunities to improve, right? And so, we have layered security in place now that obviously we can't disclose.
Near the park, those at a local YMCA are hoping for change.
The shooting, what was your reaction to it?
I just was very sad. Guns running rampant.
Tamisha back at the court looking for anything of Dalmasy's.
I don't know where his stuff is at.
Praying more will be done so this never happens again.
We need more than just people enforcing rules. All children are not the same, and sometimes they need that extra support. Extra support! Extra! They need help.
And Redding is facing multiple charges, including manslaughter with a firearm. If you or someone you know has any information, you're urged to come forward. Reporting, I'm News 6's Tylisa Hampton.
But now to another story we brought you as breaking news yesterday at 6. The family of a man shot and killed by an Orange County deputy 5 years ago settling with the sheriff's office.
News 6's Troy Campbell spoke with attorneys for the family of Salathis Melvin today. Troy, what's the feeling from that family tonight?
Yeah, we just finished up speaking with that attorney. He tells us that this settlement was years in the making, and they say it is a step towards healing for the family.
So July 25th, we reached this settlement. Tell me kind of what led up to that final moment.
Well, it was the final moment actually was multiple moments.
Attorney Carlos Hayes represented the family in the $1 million settlement against the Orange County Sheriff's Office following the death of 21-year-old Salathius Melvin in August 2020.
What message do you hope the $1 million settlement sends to the leaders?
Well, I hope, and even though we just saw last month another deputy shot another unarmed person here in Orange County, and they had actually called for help. What I'm finding is that these deputies are not properly trained to handle what they call high-stress situations.
Haynes says Melvin's mother, Michelle McKee, could have gotten more money from the settlement, but it was important for her to receive a handwritten letter from James Montiel, the now former deputy who shot and killed her son.
How important was it to Melvin's mother to get an apology letter?
It was more important than the money. I'm glad you asked me that, because I want to clarify that she left money on the table. She could have, stood firm and demanded the amount that she wanted, but she gave him an out. She said, okay, well, I'll take the $1 million, but I want a letter of apology.
Investigators say 21-year-old Salathius Melvin was shot and killed by Montiel outside the Florida Mall on August 7, 2020. Law enforcement says Melvin had a gun on him. In 2022, State Attorney Monique Worrell deemed Agent Montiel's actions lawful. The settlement states the money will come from the Florida Sheriff's Risk Management Fund.
I'm hoping that Sheriff Mina takes this seriously and says, okay, one, I hate to use a pun, but they dodged a bullet, because I am confident that a jury here out of the Middle District would have awarded Mrs. McKee more than that, because they would have seen the injustice in her 21-year-old son's life being cut way short.
Now, we're also told Melvin's mother is satisfied with that apology letter from Montiel. Now, we've also reached out to the Orange County Sheriff's Office for comment on the settlement, but we've yet to hear back. Back to you.
All right, Troy, thank you. Still to come on News 6 at 6, after months of calls to police, neighbors are finally getting some problem properties addressed.
This portion of the news is sponsored by Advent Health, helping the communities we serve to feel whole.
We're now following up on a story we brought you back in March. Some neighbors in Melbourne complained, called police, and reached out to county leaders about this scene you see right here. Neighbors say people were living out of vans and RVs surrounded by a huge pile of trash.
Yeah, but this is what the property looks like now after it was demolished. Some sharing their excitement from Melbourne community correspondent James Sparvero as the update neighbors have been waiting for.
What you're about to see is what happens to houses here in Brevard County that make the sheriff's high-intensity target list.
That was just a little bit of Sheriff Wayne Ivey's video here on Seneca Drive that millions have watched now, watching the demolition of what the sheriff's office says was a squatter house. I was on this street back in March. I was working across the street talking about this house full of trash, and now the sheriff says this house is next on the demolition list. That has neighbors who we spoke to very excited.
It feels like we're getting our neighborhood back.
One less house with squatters at a time. Like April O'Neill, I met Dewey Shattuck in March, who was just as frustrated.
We're at our end. We don't know what more to do.
Because no matter how many times neighbors say they complained about trash or drugs, nothing changed. In this house, neighbors told me the owner died, so there was no one to give deputies permission to kick the squatters out. So how in just a matter of 6 months did things change?
We just kept on it.
And April says with help from County Commissioner Rob Feltner, the house is now going to a foreclosure auction. Commissioner Feltner told me he'd like to see it cleaned up and bring in some new good neighbors to the street. As April understands the process, the house could also be knocked down, just as Sheriff Ivey mentioned, once the auction happens next week.
That's when the bank is supposed to buy it and take possession of the property. And according to the Sheriff's Department, they have permission to do the same thing to that home as soon as that happens. Ecstatic, honestly. With the house gone, there's nowhere else for people to squat.
In Brevard County, I'm your Melbourne community correspondent, James Sparvero, News 6.
My goodness.
I can't think of many people who would want to live next to that. It would get extra soupy after a bunch of rain, I would imagine.
Yeah, which is what we're looking at in some areas right now.
For sure, yeah. We had a lot of that this morning, guys. We picked up nearly 7 inches of rain just in the western side of Brevard County, closer to Palm Bay tonight. I'm happy to report that we do have a few light showers out there, but they are light and they are outside of the areas where we saw flooding today in parts of Volusia and into Brevard County. So I think from this point out, the freshwater flood threat, other than what has already fallen, is going away. And then we will transition completely to that saltwater flood threat that has been building over the past couple of days and will increase again through part of the upcoming weekend, even with sunshine coming in the pipeline. Heading high school football tonight, you can track those showers out there with the free News 6 weather app. Any plans to go to dinner, same deal. Live look here, cool shot as we have some clouds and some clear sky in the mix in Daytona Beach right now. We have air temperatures in the mid-70s, the breeze out of the east-southeast at about 5 miles an hour. The payoff is coming, at least to where we got the heavy rain today. There's our coastal system. It's developing off the coast of Florida. That is going to work its way towards the Carolinas. So as it does so, it is going to send back a little bit of extra moisture. So still tomorrow, doing a little dodging with a stray downpour in the mix. It's once we get into Sunday, and then especially the week ahead. Look at all this brown on your screen here. This is the dry air in the mid-levels of the atmosphere. That is going to take a very long extended vacation in Florida, really starting on Sunday and lasting through most of the week ahead. For that, here's a look at your forecast.
Sponsored by Strata Air Conditioning and Heating. AC emergency, you ought to call Strata.
You can kind of feel it out there already. The breeze, it feels a little drier. It's going to do so a little bit more tomorrow. And then again, Sunday, the floodgates open in terms of that drier air coming through. 79 in Leesburg tomorrow. Mount Dora, good evening. We're at 79 tomorrow as well. 76 in Ocala. Again, not completely dry. We're in and out of clouds, and there will be a few stray downpours as that system slides on through. Look at this on Sunday. These are what we're going to wake up to, the temperatures. Low 60s in Ocala, 64 in Palm Coast, 67 in Orlando. That is significant because, at least in the Orlando area, officially at the Orlando International Airport, we've not hit the 60s since May 16th. That is 147 days. Yes, we've been counting every single one of them. That is the longest stretch on record, blowing the previous stretch of not reaching the 60s at all, which was 134 days. So some cooler days are coming for sure. Now, tomorrow, again, a stray downpour in the mix. It's going to start to turn a little breezy, a little more comfortable. The tidal flooding is what we're watching for along the coast through the weekend. And then again on Sunday, that's what's going to start the nice stretch of weather. I would go out on the limb and say it's the nicest weather in the country, unless you don't really like the 50s or 60s. If you just like comfortably warm days, I mean, that looks awesome.
Doesn't get any better than that.
But don't carve those pumpkins yet. That's
No,
the
yeah,
other.
it's
Yeah,
a
it's
little
too
warm.
soon.
It's a little
Too soon.
early. Yeah, those things will have maggots all in about a week.
Ryan's in for Jamie tonight.
We are headed to the home stretch of the high school football season.
Yes, certain teams trying to cement their identities before the playoffs kick off, and others are trying to turn their seasons around before it's too late, guys. We'll set the stage. Plus, it's preseason game number 2 for the Magic tonight on the road against the 76ers. A preview is coming up. Welcome back. We are minutes away from kicking off another Friday night on the high school gridiron. It is week 8, and there are critical matchups throughout Central Florida, including at Lake Mary, where the Rams will play host to Seminole High School. This is a showdown between two recent powers that have challenged themselves with tough early season schedules. We'll have all the highlights for you tonight on News 6 at 11. Another big one kicking off at Boone High School with the Braves, hoping to stay undefeated as they host rival Winter Park. Boone coach Andy Johnson has had his guys locked in since the season opener, and there is always something on the line against the Wildcats.
Well, last year we played them in week 12, and so we knew at that game it was we win or we go home. And so it's different this year because where we're at, it's for the district title, but it's probably not for a playoff spot. So, but it's still Winter Park, and you want to beat Winter Park.
Tonight, the second of 4 preseason games for the Magic. They're about to tip off at the 76ers. Orlando getting closer to full strength as guys like Mo Wagner and Jalen Suggs slowly return from injury. This team is expected to make a huge jump this season and has the roster to prove it. Tonight, another chance to get ready for the real deal.
Working on our execution a little bit, how we want to play offensively, and defensively more going to our basics a little bit.
Taking care of the ball, we're playing faster, so it's going to be turnovers, but just being smart, making the right play, and shooting open shots for sure.
On the pitch, the regular season's winding down in the NWSL and MLS. Tonight, the Pride host the Portland Thorns at 8 o'clock. The Pride 6th in the current standings, but it is very tight. Orlando City also home this weekend. The Lions will host Vancouver tomorrow night in the final home match of the regular season. The last time they played Vancouver, the spring of 2019.
Have a big importance of our location into the playoffs standing. So good, a team that we don't usually play against, but and a team that has been playing well during the season too.
After dropping 2 straight to begin Big 12 play, UCF is a road underdog tomorrow afternoon at Cincinnati. There's been a bit of a revolving door at quarterback for the Knights, and they have not been able to put together a full 4-quarter effort in conference play. That will need to change against a solid Bearcats team. But no matter what happens, Scott Frost knows his guys will stay resilient.
We might win this week, we might lose, and that's not going to change how we approach the next week. I think this group cares about each other, and they're going to keep fighting. And because of our inexperience, I think we're going to keep improving and have even better and better chances as the year goes along.
Number 3, Miami off this week. Number 25, FSU hosts Pitt, while the Gators hit the road against 5th-ranked Texas A&M.
It's going to be a great challenge. We're going to need to be at our best. And it's what you would expect in this league at this point in time.
I want to see our best football show up. I want to see complimentary football. We've done that, at a high level at points throughout this year, and we're absolutely going to need it on Saturday.
Another important Saturday on the College Gridiron. See if the Noles can bounce back. You're eager to see that.
Well, we're not playing Miami.
That's true.
That is thankful for that. All right, more news coming up at 9 o'clock on clickorlando.com and the News 6 Plus streaming app.
Until then, have a great night. Bye.